This expression stuck with me throughout my entire life, which is a lucky person gets up in the morning, puts both feet firm on the floor, and knows what they're about to do, and it still matters to them.
For over a decade, Broderick Mervyn has had the courage to speak out and lead on the toughest issues faced by Fijians and the Commonwealth youths.
When I was selected to be part of the Fiji Youth Parliament back in 2015, and then elected to become Youth Prime Minister, people thought that this was yet another youth program just to get all the youths together.
But he saw it as an opportunity too great to ignore. This was just a platform to address key issues that affected many youths in Fiji.
I was fortunate to have known Broderick during our time in Youth Parliament, and since then it has been an amazing journey to watch firsthand a leader emerging. One of Broderick's mandate for his campaign is having an effective youth leadership in Commonwealth nations and removal of tokenistic approaches. I never forgot when Broderick and a whole lot of us walked into the parliamentary chambers when it was Broderick's turn to make his address. I distinctly recalled his words to the parliament.
It is time that Fiji and the whole world must end this culture of tokenism once and for all. The fact is that this kind of tokenism is much more subtle and can be much more depressing to the victims of tokenism than all-out resistance. And so we have a long way to go in dealing with this problem. But it is not only a Fijian problem that we face, it is a global problem.
I remember everyone giving Broderick the standing ovation that he deserves after his speech, because he meant what he said, and he was going to implement that in his line of work moving ahead. Even with some of the projects that he has come up with, he has always ensured that it is carried out by youth, for youth, and with youth.
The journey would then lead him to even greater heights than he could have possibly imagined.
Personally, having known Broderick during my years in high school and later on in his work life, you see a man who is making positive waves of impact, benefiting his country and the next generation, the youths. He has become our ambassador for youths in Fiji, the Pacific and the Commonwealth in raising awareness and importance of youths in decision-making spaces, a mandate that he has been fighting for to this day.
Broderick's grit would enable him to reach nations that one wouldn't possibly imagine. All the while, he was preparing for the message he would deliver and the impact that he would have on his audience, in particular, the youths.
You have to understand that this was Broderick representing Fiji and the Pacific region to places like Islamabad in Pakistan, Jeju in South Korea, Asakusa in Japan, and to Bonn in Germany, addressing fellow youths at various engagements and the important role that youths had in decision-making spaces, and the role Pacific youths play in these spaces among the many topics brought about by Broderick. Broderick never ceases to amaze me and his peers, and we are extremely grateful for that.
You have to understand that my mandate is to further advance the youth development agenda by integrating young people into the developing work of the Commonwealth at national, regional, and pan-Commonwealth levels. I'm also proud of the fact that one of the frameworks that will be the embodiment of this new council is the Pacific Youth Development Framework.
Broderick has always brought lessons learned from fellow youths overseas and incorporates them in the projects in Fiji and the Pacific region. The Youth Development Framework 2014 to 2023 represents an important milestone for the Pacific region. It responds to the calls from Pacific people, development partners, and governments for greater support for the implementation of countries' youth policies and to address barriers to progress.
One of the recent projects that I've done under the Pacific Youth Development Framework is the Active Youth Participation in Community Development Project, conducted in the island of Rotuma, which addresses to supporting youth representation and consideration at all levels of governance, and strengthening endangered languages and cultures through intergenerational dialogues as part of my mandate for Chairperson.
Again, despite COVID-19 restrictions, Broderick still continues to carry on with the work at the national level. Personally, a project such as the active youth participation in community development done in Rutuba and being a successful project, this goes to show that Broderick works across closely with key stakeholders to ensure youth issues are prioritized. Broderick is achieving SDG 17, which is on partnership for the goals, as he works with national, regional, and international institutions in his work of expertise.
For Broderick Mervyn, the one sacred obligation for his nation and to the Commonwealth is improving the lives of future generations through technological and digital skills and innovation through education, a campaign mandate that Broderick is championing in the Pacific. Over the years, Broderick has achieved so much in his lifetime, and he continues to make history for his family, friends, community, and Fiji as a whole.
Broderick is someone that I know that understands his leadership. Things get done and ensures that there is a long-lasting effect from his years from youth parliament, engagements abroad to the work carried out now under COVID-19. Broderick gets the job done. You will also see that a lot of the projects carried out by Broderick have one way or the other had both the civic spirit in terms of engagement, but also addresses all the 17 sustainable development goals. Let's not forget that this is the same man that is a youth parliament and community practitioner, a course coordinator for the professionalizing youth work in the Pacific modules, coordinator for Ignite for Change, and honorary for the Pacific Youth Awards, and received high recognition from the state in receiving the Medal of the Order of Fiji. I believe we need someone like Broderick that can shape the Commonwealth Youth Council for the better.
He hasn't walked away or flinched from the great battles that have driven and defiled this nation, Fiji, and the Commonwealth ever since. His career has been defined by honesty, passion, and conviction, and throughout it all, when it mattered most, he's forced us all to look deep within our souls and ask, is this who we are as Pacific Islanders and as the Commonwealth? And perhaps, more importantly, is this who we want to be?
I'm more optimistic about Fiji, the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth Youth Council's chances today than I have ever been.